the humming of insects, chirping birds, a motor humming, the breathing, the smell of freshly washed air and grasses, flowers and earth. Water drops on the window panes. Sitting here, at least outwardly quiet. Inwardly, what's happening right now? Thoughts, storyline about what? Myself? The others? Interspersed with moments of quietness. The other day, a child came to a meeting with me. It was a one-on-one meeting, as we call it. Rather shy. And talking a bit with her. And then being quiet again, asking whether there was a question she had. And she said, "Could you tell me how to meditate?" And I said, no, I couldn't do that because I don't tell people what to do. And yet we can listen together this moment to whatever's there. And the less expectation we have of what we should be doing and what we should be listening to, the more reveals itself what is actually happening. All the humming and buzzing and chirping and sounding inside and outside. Can you hear it? Can we hear it? Is it there in simplicity? It isn't there usually in all simplicity because we name it, or it is being named. We say, this is an insect. What kind of insect is it? Sometimes she speaks about crickets and then about cicadas. What is it? Wanting names, that is an automatic response of the brain. Naming or searching for terms, for words, to describe what is going on. Can one notice it as it's happening, not just take it for granted and hum with it, but aware, naming is taking place. Or wanting to find a name for these sounds. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not right, it's what's going on. And with the naming usually comes some kind of a judgment. Oh, I like this, or no, I don't like that. It's not right, it's not wrong, but it's happening. Almost all of the time. Running commentary on what is perceived to be happening. And not only naming, liking, disliking, but what this reminds me of. What happened in the past. These switches happen with no one doing it. They happen because we are so constructed, if you will, so put together, so wired to associate what is seen now with what is known from the past. It's no one's fault, it's no one's merit, it's no one's doing. It's what goes on in the human mind or brain, which we say is mine, my mind, my body. And we're questioning what that owner is. Is it other than thought, thinking in that way for a whole lifetime and hundreds and thousands of years? So, can one hear, feel, experience the breathing this moment? Maybe a deep breath, a sigh, sometimes gasping for air, coughing, and at times so quietly breathing that it's hardly noticeable. That is what human beings like you and me, who have wondered about themselves and life and the universe and God and our relationship with each other, which is usually one of suffering intermingled with some pleasure. That's what human beings who are wondering about all of this. What is life all about? What am I? Why do I suffer when I don't want to go on living like that? That's what human beings have been told to do for eons, centuries upon centuries, to begin observing their breathing. Sometimes making it a bit more elaborate, visualizing it, counting each inhalation and each exhalation on and on and on. And then other practices saying count it just up to 10, inhalation and exhalation, and then start with 1 again. Which by some people is felt as helpful to concentrate the mind, having something to concentrate on, the closest thing being the breathing. There's nothing closer than that. Or letting go of all the elaborations, counting, visualizing, just a simple awareness of it. But how simple is this awareness when it has become conceptualized as a meditation practice? by conceptualizing having a meditation practice, so much goes with it. Through this association of ideas, with past experiences, past injunctions, commandments, do's, don'ts, all of this is brought into association with having a meditation practice. Maybe the simplest should is, I should be doing it now, I've got it. I asked for it, somebody gave it to me, now I should do it. I should follow my breathing or experience the breathing or count it. In a simple thing like this, what is happening? I should be observing or experiencing the breathing. It is no longer just this. No matter how long, how short, how choppy, how quiet, how deep, how superficial. It's no longer just what it is, but it is something that I should be doing. And we don't even know what this I is. That feels so controlling, so shoulding, and so full of resistance, at the same time as it is desiring to get someplace, resisting the doing, the should, the task. Every time thought pronounces, you should be doing this, you're not doing it, do it. It is creating and recreating afresh the sense of I, of me as a separate doer. Having the capacity to control events, inner and outer events, to pay attention to the breathing, not to become distracted by outer stimulation or inner stimulation, thoughts or crickets chirping. With an assigned practice that one takes conscientiously, seriously. Isn't it a fact that everything that is not this practice becomes an obstruction or a hindrance or a distraction? Is that a distraction? That's what's going on. Has the breathing stopped because of listening? Or there's just attending, naming, wondering, reacting to the bird, and therefore not the openness of also listening to the breathing? Or is it possible, at least for moments at a time, happening on its own, that everything is there as it is? Breathing, chirping, sweating, humming. So how simple can attention be? How simple and all-encompassing can awareness be? We're using these words. What is the word? Synonymously. Listening may evoke a different, maybe a little bit of a different feeling, but it is always the same openness of no rejection, no preference, and yet bringing into view all the rejection and all the preferences that roam around in this mind, meaning the field of thought and emotion that we call me, bringing it into view, all the battling and confronting and overcoming and winning and losing of sides that are taken. Beholding it all in what is not mine or yours, what is just there in human beings. A very simple, easily to be overlooked awareness in which crickets, cicadas, insects, sighs, breathing, aching, thinking, emoting are not felt to be mine or not mine. That's the operation of thought, saying these are my emotions, these are not mine. This is my image, this is not mine. This is how I am, this is not how I want to be. That's the operation of thinking. Creating division upon division, categories, and encasement, self-enclosure of what is mine and what is yours, and the separation between us, all the product of thought, with its imagery and light as well as deep emotions, feelings of anger, hatred, love, jealousy, companionship, longing, fearing. All possible to behold as happening in this moment of free awareness, not tied to any practice, and therefore not tied to any shoulds and oughts, and therefore not creating a me that has or does not have this awareness but should have it. That's what thought does. Not to be condemned. It does it. It's visible. It's experienceable. It goes on in the human mind, which manifests in you and me and billions of other human beings throughout the ages. Thought manifesting. Thought systems, emotional engagements. Taking thought and image to be telling us the truth about ourselves and each other, and acting, or rather reacting, to what is falsely assumed to be truth about ourselves and each other. That you're my enemy, that you're inferior, that I am superior, or the other way around. One person mentioned this morning, and I don't have it recorded verbatim in this mind. But there is a memory of it, of the gist of it. With always the possibility that one may misunderstand each other, not quite have listened completely or not quite have expressed it completely clearly. But be this as it may with regard to that question, here is a newly formulated statement. As there is observation going on, it is this state of contentment, of discontentment, of peacefulness, of upset, quietness, noisiness, all of these states. And it feels like walking in fluff. It is all so insubstantial. What am I going to do next week when I go back to work? Where I can't afford to be walking in fluff. Actually, that was the first response to that statement. It's not true. The moment bell rings or one gets up without a bell, there's the ground under the feet, isn't there? Unless there's an earthquake. Walking. Feet on the ground. It happens. There is some solidity to feet and floor or ground, of course, after heavy rain, and maybe quite squishy. But it's not a problem, is it? And maybe the clearer it is how fluffy and insubstantial all these states of thinking and feeling and remembering and anticipating and wanting and fearing, how insubstantially fluffy it all is, maybe the clearer it will be the moment we just get up and walk for a moment to the bathroom, go to the toilet, wash the hands, or to the kitchen. We know where that kitchen is. It hasn't disappeared in fluff. We know how to ladle out soup and spread the bread with soy cheese. How to hold a bowl. How to spoon up the delicious, warm mixture of stuff that the hands have prepared, many hands. At that moment, unless one is thinking about the fluff next week, it's very real. Or what is happening? Maybe one moment of eating, of spooning up what we call soup. What is it really when we don't call it soup? Then we have to pay attention because we want to be in touch. What is it? This is not an assigned practice, please, not to have to ask, what is it, while eating. See, words are so tricky, so dangerous, because we're so facile learning it in school to perfection, or almost perfection, to live in this world of thought, stepping out of real being, in touch with a spoonful of soup and some bread in the hand, the chewing, the salivating, the swallowing, and spooning up some more, maybe thinking about the next spoonful while the mouth is still full. It's not bad, it's not right or wrong, it happens, and is observable, touchable, feelable. So the first reaction was, getting up right now, there is the feet on the ground. Are we for a moment there? Or are the feet really touching the ground in awareness? Or is awareness overlaid by fear about what happens next week? I'm not saying this person was fearful. I'm not attributing this. A talk is something creative. Not to take it too personal. Or not to take it personal at all. So, one doesn't have to wait until next week to find out what is the relationship of seeing the insubstantiality of our constant mind states, one after another, so changeable, so different, so often so contradictory. What is the relationship of seeing the fluff of it? With listening for a moment, with walking through the woods. Taking a drink. Sitting on a chair or in a sofa. Is it the continuation of fluffy mind states? Or is it interspersed with some real in-touchness? Unspectacular, so it may seem to the discriminating, judging thought, which says, I thought more spectacular things would happen if I sit here for 5, 6, 7 days. Instead of still the same shitty thoughts. One person said, I feel honestly overwhelmed by this flood of internal ongoings, dialogues, monologues, conversations, commentaries with their physical accompaniment, on and on and on and on and on. I feel overwhelmed by it. What is that I imagined to be overwhelmed? Or felt to be overwhelmed? What is it? Quack, 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 quack. After a while of talking, the person added, it's been a very humbling experience to really be in touch with what goes on inside this body-mind. Because we have such seemingly solid imagery about ourselves. How stable we are, how clear we are, how clever we are. And is it that this imagery is being overwhelmed by some insight into what is really going on in what one would like to be my stable, my clear mind, or my progressively clearing mind. That was mentioned too. One is led to believe that in the course of time, this will all become better. And the impatient mind, imagining this better state, feels frustrated. I am not where I ought to be, where I should be, where I want other people to know that I am. The straitjacket is incredible about the way we think about ourselves. And yet, even though it's seen as a straitjacket, as a burden, as a constant choke, if you will, it continues. Or does it? One can't predict. One can't assume what will be the next moment. And yet that's what thought is doing. It wants to control everything, including the imagined future, in which things will become better or things will be just the same. It's hopeless. It'll never get better. One person this morning said, this subtle sense of me is always there. And the response was, how do you know? It seems to be always there, a good part of the time. And is that finding of fact, that there is a subtle sense of me, no matter how clear the listening, is that finding of fact already connected with judgment? First of all, it's connected with naming, what we said earlier. There's the sense of me again. Something happened, it is being named, it is being reacted to as unwelcome or hopeless, impossible to overcome, or whatever all theories spin around, or predictions, speculations. Maybe if I did more retreating, I would overcome it sooner. But the simple fact is that thought, thinking about itself as me, my presence, my existence, my mind, my progress, thought cannot eliminate itself. It can only keep on thinking about itself. Some more and some more. In different, maybe new ways, thinking about itself. At a moment, thought is not thinking about itself. Who knows about an I or about a me? There's crows and cool air and humming and breathing and coughing and sensing, wetting, sweating. But it needs thought to say, this is my perception. Then there it is. Thought about itself. At a moment of no thought about anything, where is the me? Where is the I? Where is the owner? The controller, the doer. does thought spring into action to figure this one out, then it is actively connected with the sense of me. Not absolutely necessarily so. It doesn't have to. Thought can be operating as it is right now, thought and image, without creating the sense of me. That's the marvelous thing. It can be disconnected from that circuit. That circuit being what? Not there, in abeyance. The energy is here in the listening, looking, talking, experiencing all manner of physical sensations, inside, outside, talking about it. And yet, no need to focalize it all in habitual thought about my perception, my existence. That's possible. Possible for ordinary human beings like you and me. And that yet the fact that it may not seem to be like this even after 6 or 7 days of sitting quietly, is no reason to form any assumptions about what's possible or impossible. If there is a beginning sense of being with what is here now, letting it all be so generously, so patiently, so spaciously and timelessly. No deadlines. By such and such a time I must achieve. This is what haunts us in our daily professional lives. Already starting in school for little children. Deadlines by when homework has to be in, which creates resistance. Without deadlines, we may love to work and love to do things. With a deadline, there's something new introduced. Force, control, and resistance, to name a few. So, whatever is going on this instant, it's already gone, isn't it? This. No need to evaluate it. Evaluation becomes transparent for being just another conditioned response learned by this body-mind, beheld in openness. No time. Let's say a bit more about that. Obviously, if one looks on the bulletin board, there's a time schedule. We function very timely, very punctually with the meals, cleanup, meeting time. How long a meeting is, not completely punctual. For some 40 people to work together, get together. So there's not total confusion and chaos. Timelines and time schedules are very convenient and practical, necessary. But within this timeline, which has a practical function, it is arbitrary. We could increase the time for lunch, decrease the time for sitting, which we've done over the years. But within such a bunch of timelines, can the listening and looking and being be free of time pressure? Which means the time pressure has to become very transparent. What I'm still doing, this word still is a time word. What I should have attained, what will happen to me in the future. This is all the pressure of invented time, which does not exist except in thought, in this moment of moist air and quiet humming and physical sensing and breathing. One instant of breathing, chirping, humming, sensing. Where is the time? For one moment, thought was quiet. And then it may rear up again. What are you doing? Are you doing well? Which is also connected with time. The whole thought about me is connected with time. Because me is as recreated from moment to moment through thinking about myself exists over time, which exists over thinking. But one moment of just this moist breathing, talking, airing, cooling, humming. No time. No need for concept. Concept arising about me or my practice or my success or my failure, that concept arising is like the hum of crickets. Already humming along with the idea about myself. Humming pleasantly or humming uncomfortably. Painfully or humming quietly, contentedly. Different thoughts evoking different hums in this organism. And the marvelous thing is it can become visibly transparent or audibly transparent. It doesn't matter. Thought arousing physical buzzing, pleasurably felt or painfully felt, observable. And in that one observation of one thought causing a painful hum or pleasurable hum, in that connection which is observed directly, where is the I? Where is the controller? Where is the doer? Where is the sufferer? One thought arousing painful emotions, or one insect bite causing painful sensation. Before thought arises and spins it into a continuous story, where is the sufferer? That's why children so often can take more pain and can quickly, seemingly quickly, forget about displeasure. Because there's a lot of presence and not yet this as yet to be elaborated story making about myself. But with the story making about myself, and we're not saying it's bad, we all love stories, read stories and tell stories about ourselves. With this capacity to weave stories about ourselves comes the creation of the sufferer. Because we can cry at the story we create about our life, more than about the events, which when they happen are usually very quickly responded to by a very intelligent organism, which knows how to mend cuts in a marvelous way, to heal wounds in an unfathomable manner. But the story spins on about what happened to me, how I was hurt, what they're always doing to me. We talked about it earlier, this story of victimization. We have other themes, but this is an important one. So, listening to this, don't buy it, don't reject it, but can we watch it together, whether this is really so, and catch the story being woven and the emotions that it arouses, which have no more to do with the incident that happened, or very little. The incident is past. And if no story weaving goes on, then one forgets about it. That's the amazing discovery. Somebody just told me that this morning. Later on, when I'm going down the driveway, I'll probably have forgotten about this meeting. Not if the mind keeps spinning it into something, then it won't be forgotten, because then it's also accompanied by emotion and maybe the attachment to the emotions that the story unfolds. Often an addictive attachment to the sadness and the pleasure of our stories about ourselves. Then being able to appear in so many roles as hero, heroine, victim, victor, or victoress. We love it. As kids, we love to put different costumes on, different hats. Our son, when he was a little boy, he had a collection, I don't know, of many hats. We gave him an old chest that was just full of hats. Putting it on, one feels different. Putting another one on, one feels different again. So, can we trace, like a detective, when we get into this mode of suffering, what is happening? What the story is that is going on at this moment? And wonder in a benign way, not critically, not cynically. Critical if it means scrutinizing, looking clearly or accurately, then, but I meant condemningly, not looking condemningly or acceptingly, saying, well, this is human nature. But wondering whether the story, right at the moment it is being discovered as running and spinning, whether it has to continue at that moment, not end for all times, that is putting oneself in an impossible task. But at this moment of waking up to the story spinning and the body heaving with pleasure or pain or suffering, at this moment does the story have to continue? And it's not a choice or a mental decision, I should stop the story. But if there is a moment of attention which brings the story and the suffering and the pain and the feelings to light, there's also crickets humming and breath in and out, and maybe people around and sky moving with clouds, rain falling or heat burning. There's so much else going on beside this addictive storyline of ours. Addictive is not said judgmentally, it is factually so, because why is it that there is a returning again and again for such a long time to the same story or similar stories? There's habit. I'm not just substituting another word. Just does it make it clearer what is going on so it's observable, not to be condemned or eradicated, but brought to light, learned about as we go. So, does the story have to keep running? We don't know. But at this moment of asking the question, what is going on? Beside that felt need to go on with the story. Several people mentioned to me, when a moment of attention comes, so often there's an overwhelming sense, I don't want to be attentive. I want to keep going with the pleasure of pain and the pain of pleasure. These two centers being so contiguous, so closely, supposedly I've read, located in the brain, but one can feel it, that one constantly spills over into the other. Too much pleasure brings pain, and a lot of pain brings pleasure. Two centers excited, there are animal experiments connected with it. But we are that animal. There's a saying in German, nichts ist schwerer zu ertragen als eine Reihe von guten Tagen. Nothing is harder to bear or to endure than a sequence of good days. We know that at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, it's too much food after a while. Too much contentment, it becomes stale, seemingly. It isn't if we begin to listen in a fresh way. So, can we say that living or being alive is a continuous challenge? I don't mean sitting quietly, openly. There's no challenge in that. It is. But we have to get up, and next week there's the job. Maybe not next week. We have a job here. What happens with it? Upsetting, challenging, annoying. How do we meet it? Directly? Every upset, an opportunity for no separation. An opportunity for no separation in every moment of upset, which arises out of the feeling of separation. We will end here for today.